Welcome to my YouTube channel, Unique Bio Classes based on NCERT syllabus for PUC first and second year. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe and share and hit the bell icon so that you can get notifications as and then the videos are getting uploaded. Okay, we shall proceed with the further. So in my today's class, I am going to discuss about the sexual reproduction, the continuation of sexual reproduction. If you have not seen the previous video, please you have to view the previous video so that you can get the better understanding of this video. Okay. So in this we can find, in the previous video we have discussed about phases of life cycle and sexual reproduction. In the phases of life cycle we have said, first one, juvenile phase, second one, reproductive phase, third one, senescence phase. These were the three phases. And we have said that in plants, that juvenile phase is starts from germination of seeds till the mark of flowering. Is it? As soon as the plant starts to flower, then it starts with a reproductive phase. Before flowering, what period is there? That we call it as juvenile phase. Okay. So that flowering in different plants, it is of different types. You'll find one sentence in your NCERT textbooks as, in plants, annual and biennial plants show clear-cut vegetative, reproductive and senescent phase. Okay. In annual plants, in biennial plants, they show clear-cut vegetative reproductive phases. Okay, vegetative reproductive and senescence phases. Okay, they are showing vegetative, which is the vegetative phase, which is the reproductive phase, and which one is the senescent phase. Easily we can identify where in this kind of plants, annual and biennial plants. Whereas, but in perennial species, it is very difficult. In perennial species, it is very difficult to clearly define these three phases. What does this sentence says? That annual and biennial plants, in that these three phases which we have discussed in the last video, that are clearly visible, easily we can identify. Whereas in perennial plants, it is quite difficult to identify, okay, the three different phases of life. So we shall know first what are annual, biennial and perennial species of plant. Okay, annual plants that completes its life cycle within 1 year and dies, which means the plants which are having 1 year lifespan. Example, pea plant. Okay, you have pea plant, you have many of the plants like rice, especially monocots, they are living only for 1 year. Okay, the plant which lives for only 1 year, which completes its life cycle within 1 year, those are called as annual plants. Okay, within 1 year they'll reproduce and they'll die. Biennial plants, the name itself shows, bi means 2, annual means 1. Annual exam, you're writing only once in a year, in your academic year. Okay, so biennial means 2. So these plant that takes 2 years to complete its life cycle. Example, parsley, carrot, etc. Now parsley is a kind of a plant is similar to coriander. Okay, similar to coriander, which you will find in abroad. That is called as parsley. And this parsley, carrot, these are completing their life cycle in 2 years. Whereas annual plants, it completes its life cycle in 1 year. Perennial plants. Perennial plants, the plant that lives more than 2 years. Okay, the plant that lives more than 2 years, which means it lives for many years. Example, neem tree, gulmohar, hibiscus, apple, kiwi, nilgiri, different types of plants which you will find. All those are perennial plants. Okay, now you understood what are annual, which lives for one year, biennial, which lives for 2 years, perennial, which lives for many years. Now we shall come back to the first sentence. What does it say? Annual and biennial plants show clear-cut vegetative, reproductive and senescent phases, but perennial species, it is very difficult to clearly define these three phases. So how it is? Annual plants, because it lives only for 1 year, so it is very easy to identify within a 1 year which is a juvenile phase or which is a vegetative phase, which one is a reproductive phase. Is it? Juvenile phase is as it starts to grow, the plant when it starts to grow, that we said juvenile phase. As soon as it starts to produce flower, it has started with the reproductive phase. As soon as it has been produced fruits, then this will die, this plant will die. Then we call it as it is entering in senescence phase. Okay, so it is very clear. Biennial plants, in that also for 1 year they will grow, next 1 year they'll produce flowers and fruits and die. Okay, perennial plants, these plants which will live for many years. Okay, you might have seen neem trees which are living for so many years around your houses. So these plants, in that we could not say which is a juvenile phase, which is a vegetative phase, which is a reproductive phase and which one is a senescence phase. So that's why, because it lives for many years, it is not very clear Whereas in annual and biennial, it is very clear to identify 3 different phases. Okay, this is about this sentence which has been given in your NCERT syllabus. Next we have few plants are unusual plants. Okay, so few plants are unusual flowering plants. Why these are unusual flowering plants? Because you might have seen flowering plants, they are flowering throughout the year sometimes. Some are flowering seasonally, it depends. Now here some unusual flowering plants are there, like bamboo species. Okay, bamboo species flowers only once in their lifetime, which means bamboo species is producing flower only once in its lifetime. After 50 to 100 years, after to 50 to 100 years, it will produce flower. For 50 to 100 years, it will grow. It is having its juvenile phase. Okay, as soon as it produces flower, it produces large number of fruits and it will die. Okay, this is a plant which produces flower and fruits once in its lifetime, and its lifespan is around 50 to 100 years. As soon as it produces flower, then it will produce fruit, and then that plant will die. That is about the bamboo species. You will get 1 mark question. Name the plant which produces flower once in its lifetime. It is bamboo species. What is its lifespan? 50 to 100 years. Okay, next you have Strobilanthus kunthiana. Okay, Strobilanthus kunthiana is a scientific name, which is commonly called as Neela Karanji, which flowers only once in 12 years. Bamboo species we said, which flowers once in its lifetime. This Strobilanthus kunthiana is that flower which flowers once in 12 years. It has last flowered during September-October 2006, which means after 12 years means you will get 2018. But we found, but in your NCERT textbook it is yet 2006, but lastly you can say 2018 also. Where it will flower? It is found in large tracts of hilly areas like Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. Okay, in these hilly regions you can find that this Strobilanthus kunthiana has been grown, and it is having a blue colored, mauve colored flowers. Because of these flowers, the tourist will get attracted towards it, and a large number of tourists have been visited to see this kind of flowers. Okay, blue stretches of flowers have been grown in these regions. For that flower we call it as Strobilanthus kunthiana. So as you know, in first year you have studied how to write the scientific name, so there must be no spelling mistake in this. While underlining also, it should be underlined separately, as you know this. Okay, so you will get 1 mark question. Name the flower which flowers once in 12 years. It is Strobilanthus kunthiana or Neela Karanji. When it was flowered lastly, that is September-October 2006. If your NCERT textbook is of new edition, maybe it has been changed, but what I have, it is 2006. And where it has been grown, where it is present, Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, in their hilly regions. Okay, this is about some unusual flowering plants. Next you will get about animals. In animals, there are seasonal breeders and continuous breeders. Breeders which are going to reproduce. Okay, these are the organisms that reproduce only in some favorable seasons. Seasonal fruits you might have heard, like mangoes you will get in particular season, like custard apple you will get in a particular season. Is it? We have different seasons for different fruits, which means those are seasonal fruits. Some fruits are like that, which you will get throughout the year. Okay, so here we are talking about animals, seasonal breeders. These are the organisms that reproduce only in some favorable seasons, which means these are able to reproduce only in particular season. Example, mammals living in natural and wild conditions. Many of the mammals which are living in natural conditions or in wild conditions. What does you mean by wild condition? Which are living in forest. Okay, so birds, especially birds. Which birds? Poultry birds. The birds comes under seasonal breeders. We have poultry birds also. Poultry birds are those which are growing in poultry farms. Okay, which are birds in captivity. It can be made to lay eggs throughout the year. Is it? So the birds which are growing in a poultry farm, these are forced to produce eggs, right? Because of this, it has been given with many of the hormones. That is not for reproduction, that is to get some commercial income from it. So that these poultry birds, actual birds which are seasonal breeders, they are forced to produce eggs throughout the year. Okay, anyhow, you can give example for seasonal breeders are mammals and some birds. Okay, continuous breeders, the organisms that are reproductively active throughout their reproductive phase are called as continuous breeders. Okay, the name itself shows. Seasonal means in particular season only they are able to reproduce. Continuous breeders are those which are able to reproduce throughout their reproductive phase. Is it when they are reproductively active in that phase? Throughout their life, when they are having reproductive phase, they are able to reproduce. Example, human beings. As you know, human beings does not have a specific season of reproduction. Okay, not only this, and many other animals also are there. Okay, now these are the two types of breeders, seasonal breeders and continuous breeders. We have got this question for 2 marks to differentiate. Okay, so the differences among this you must know. Okay, we have further we have about estrous cycle. We have the estrous cycle, and one more is menstrual cycle. Estrous cycle, the cyclical changes in the activities of ovaries, accessory ducts and hormone. Ovary, accessory ducts and hormone secretion. Ovaries and accessory ducts, these are present in the female reproductive part. Okay, and a hormone secretion, where hormones are getting secreted during reproductive phase of non-primates. First we shall know what does these terms mean. Non-primates are those organisms which are having those mammals which are having simple form of forebrain. Okay, simple forebrain. Whereas primates will be having complex forebrain. Primates will be having complex forebrain. Non-primates will be having simple forebrain. This primates and non-primates, this is an order of mammals. In mammals, you will get mammals is a class. In that, you will get an order called as primate and a non-primate. On what basis mammals have been differentiated? Based on their complexity of the forebrain. How much they can use. As you can find, human will come under primates or non-primates. Whether we have a simple forebrain or a complex forebrain, you can decide. Is it? So we have complex forebrain, not simple forebrain. So we are not primates. We are non-primate. We are not coming under non-primates. We are primates. Okay. Now we shall read out once again the sentence given for estrous cycle. The cyclical changes in the activities of ovary, accessory ducts and hormone secretion during reproductive phase of non-primates. The changes which are undergoing where in the reproductive organ of a female and hormone secretion when during reproductive phase of non-primates. For that we call it as estrous cycle. Estrous cycle is having 2 periods. Okay, estrous cycle is having 2 periods. First one is short period. Another one is long period. 2 periods are there. One is short period, another one is long period. Short period is estrous period. Okay, a long period is anestrus. Okay, short period is estrus period and long period is anestrus period. Short period is also called as heat period. Anestrus period or a long period is also called as rest period. Now the name itself shows. Okay, the name itself shows, as you can find, estrus period means the period in which they are able to reproduce. That is a heat period in which organisms are able to reproduce. Anestrus period or rest period is that where organisms are not reproducing. So in estrous cycle, the cyclical changes which are going on in the female non-primates, that is having 2 periods throughout the year. One is short period, one is long period, which means the organisms are able to reproduce only for a short period, whereas in a long period they are unable to reproduce. Okay, anyhow, so this is about the estrous cycle. Example, cows, sheep, rats, deer, dogs, tigers, etc. All these are coming under non-primates which are having estrous cycle. There is no shedding of endometrium. Okay, there is no shedding of endometrium in estrous cycle. Okay, we shall go further. In this estrous cycle, we have again different types: monoestrous cycle, diestrous animal and polyestrous animal. Monoestrous animal means here single estrous cycle in a year. If an organism is having only one estrous cycle in a year, then we call it as monoestrous animal. Only one estrous cycle means only once in a year it will be able to reproduce. Example, deer. Diestrous animal, okay, 2 estrous cycle a year. Okay, the animals which are having 2 estrous cycles, which means in 2 cycles in a year they are able to reproduce 2 times. Example, dog. Polyestrous animal, many estrous cycle in a year, which means these organisms are able to reproduce many times in a year. Example, mouse. Okay, example is mouse. Next, these are the 3 different types of estrous cycle, which is helpful for your entrance, not for your theory. Menstrual cycle. Next one we have menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle in the activities of ovary. Okay, the menstrual cycle or the cyclical changes in the activities of ovary, accessory ducts and hormone secretion. What we said for this one, estrous cycle, same. The activities of ovary, accessory ducts and hormone secretion during reproductive phase of primates is getting altered. Example, monkeys, apes and humans. Okay, now this menstrual cycle is continuous. This menstrual cycle is present in primates which are having complex forebrain. Okay, which are having complex forebrain. Non-primates are those which are having simple forebrain. Now in primates there is a menstrual cycle. In non-primates there is a estrous cycle. Now this primates, they are having menstrual cycle means primates are able to reproduce throughout their life, throughout the year, whereas non-primates they are able to reproduce only once, twice or many times a year, depends on which type of estrous cycle they have. Now menstrual cycle, there is a shedding of endometrium. In this you can find, whereas there is no shedding of endometrium in estrous cycle. Now shedding of endometrium and all, what is I am saying, you won't understand now. You have to go through the 3rd chapter of second year, then you will understand. Okay, when I shall discuss about in detail about the menstrual cycle. Anyhow, these are the examples of menstrual cycle: monkeys, apes, human beings. And we have got a question, differences between menstrual cycle and estrous cycle. Okay, 2 mark question or only 1 mark question they can ask, and entrance exam questions are also there. Okay, so this is about today's class. If you have any doubts, any queries, please comment it in the comment box. Then if you are new to my channel, please subscribe, share and hit the bell icon so that you can get notifications. Okay, in my next class I shall discuss further about the events of sexual reproduction. We shall meet soon. Take care, stay safe, stay healthy.